Your SI joint is where the base of your spine meets your pelvis. You have two SI joints and they're located just at your lower back above the little dimples of your buttocks. These joints act as shock absorbers for your spine and help you to transfer your weight side to side whenever you're walking or running. If you fall or have a misstep or do a lot of walking and running, the SI joint takes a lot of that impact, and that's why it's so common to feel pain in that area. Since the SI joint's primary function is stability, it's held together by some of the strongest ligaments in your body. It relies heavily on all of the surrounding muscles being strong and stable for it to function well. If your hips are tight or there's an imbalance in the surrounding muscles, this can put a lot of stress on the SI joints. This can lead to unpredictable flare-ups, seemingly out of nowhere. You can be fine for months at a time, and then all of a sudden you end up with this deep, dull pain just above your butt. You might think that you've done nothing wrong because you haven't done anything new or different. Hey, what could be the cause? It might be because I had cucumber last Tuesday. Even though SI joint pain can be super frustrating, through working on good hip movement, glute activation, and core strength, you can keep things feeling happier and reduce your pain. So let's go through the 4 exercises that you need to keep your SI joints feeling stable and pain-free. Firstly, we want to check for imbalances. We want to check the extension of our hips. That's our ability to bring the hips through and forwards. If there's any kind of tightness around here, that can lead to muscles feeling like they're being tugged or your SI joint feeling like it's being knocked off. Your psoas muscles connect from the top of the leg bones right through to the lower section of your spine. So if there's any kind of tightness there, that can lead to your pelvis feeling like it's being rotated or hiked up on one side. The exercise we use to check all of this is the couch stretch. We're going to give you 3 levels for each exercise, level 1 being the easiest, and our goal is to build to the level 3. So the first one we're doing here is a couch stretch variation that I like to call the bed stretch. So if you've got your bed or sofa or a chair, you're just going to plunk the knee down gently, and then from there what Jenni's doing is trying to do like a mini sit-up. She's trying to tuck her pelvis underneath herself and trying to think about sitting up from the front and trying to get a stretch at this point here. She squeezes the glute here, keeps her breathing nice and relaxed, and tries to bring the hips forwards and tries to get that nice stretch in the hip. You're going to test both sides, and also make sure when you're in the position, have a little bit of a wiggle around as well. Muscles don't just go forwards and backwards. There's a little bit of wiggle room, so make sure you wiggle in your stretches. Once you're feeling the stretch in the hip in the right way with the level 1, we want to then progress it down to the floor for our level 2, which is a nice long lunge position. So Jenni has got the knee down again. She's keeping the same principles, trying to tuck that pelvis, trying to get that nice stretch at the front, and then she starts to try and bring the hip forwards and down a little bit to get a more intense stretch. And then we get some nice wiggling going on in that position too. And the main thing we're looking to do here is if Jenni was trying to push the hip forward, we don't want it to come from the lower back. So see here how she's arched the lower back. We don't want to be cranking there. We want to set ourselves up, get that little bit of a tuck again, never be afraid to readjust your position, and then try and get it more about the front of the hips. We do this on both sides, and we're aiming to build up to a nice 60 seconds on each leg. Level 3 that we're looking to progress to is the full couch stretch. So you're looking to use a sofa or a chair, and you're going to put your back foot up on something. So it's similar to the lunge position we were already in. We've just now elongated everything down at the quad too, which will give you a more intense stretch. Again, tucking that pelvis, trying to keep the breathing nice and relaxed, trying to sit yourself up nice and tall. We want the front of the hip to be fully flat and open here and not bent or having the back arched. So we're making sure that the hip is fully open, and that's how we get the most from our glutes. Test both hips individually and use the level that suits you best. We want to get a good solid 60-second hold. If you find that you're using the level but you can only hold it for around 20 seconds before you have to come out of the position, then use the level before that to build it up over a few weeks. Once you can do level 3 for a full 60 seconds and feel pretty comfortable in it, you know that your hip extension is on point. Next, we want to increase hip rotation. Your hip sockets play a crucial role in shock absorption as well. If your hips aren't able to rotate well as you're moving, then all of that impact is going to be taken upwards towards the SI joints. It is so important for good movement to come from the hips so everything can work together. Restricted hip rotation can lead to your glutes, your piriformis, or your TFL feeling tight. We use these 90-90 variations to help to put range of motion into the hips, but also build strength. Our level 1 for our hip rotation is the assisted 90-90 switch. So Jenni here is just going to let both knees fall down to one side, and there we are in our regressed 90-90 position. So her hands are still on the ground here, she's using them to hold herself up, and then we just want to see, by keeping the feet on the ground, can we just swap from side to side. So the leg that is open at the front here, this is external rotation of the hip. The leg that's in the back here, that's internal rotation of the hip. So we're just looking to swap from side to side, again keeping the breathing nice and relaxed. If you're currently in a bit of a flare-up, it might feel quite tender, stick with it and you'll notice things ease off as you move. Once you've got the hang of this and this feels okay, then you can try the level 2. To make this a little bit harder, what we're going to do now is expand the legs out. So now we're looking for right angles at the hips and the knees. The hands are still on the floor here, but now what Jenni's going to do to change from side to side is actually lift the legs up and try and rotate and change, and that's how we get to the other side. So we're starting to get a bit of strength going as well. So she can still use her hands to support her and lean back a little bit, but this is what we're looking for, to start to have a bit of strength and trying to get ourselves up a little bit taller in the position. Our level 3 is to work our way up towards 90-90 rotations unassisted. So you can see here now, Jenni has the hands off the ground and she's lifting the legs up still and swapping side to side, getting those good right angles every time as well. You want your torso to be as upright as possible. There'll be a small lean, but what we're looking for over time is that you feel strong in this position and you're able to swap side to side fairly easily. You may find that one side is tighter or uncomfortable, but by spending some time wiggling and breathing with the level that suits you, this will improve over a few weeks. We're aiming to build ourselves up so that we could cope with doing 2 full minutes of the unassisted 90-90 rotations. When you've got that, that means your hips are moving really well and you've got pretty good strength too. If you haven't struggled with the first 2 range of motion exercises, then you're going to find the most benefit with the next 2 strength and activation exercises. Even if you have super flexible hips, this can also contribute to having SI joint pain because stability is lacking a little bit if you're too flexible. Now we're going to build glute strength. Once your hips are moving well, we want to start building glute strength in order to support the SI joints. Have you ever tried to squeeze just one glute at a time? Are you able to make them work individually by themselves? This is really important because whenever you walk, it should be your glutes that are driving you forwards. If the glutes aren't working properly, you're kind of falling forwards and catching yourself with the foot instead. And SI joints hate that. We use the single leg glute bridge in order to build this up. The single leg glute bridge is what we're working on here. So level 1 is to use a double leg glute bridge first to get the hips up nice and straight and open, squeeze both glutes, and then from there Jenni's going to try and take one leg away and extend that leg out and try and hold herself up still nice and straight without her body dipping down or rotating as she does that. So she sees, can she hold that for time? She presses her hands into the ground, that helps her keep the hips up nice and tall, and then she resets everything, starts from the start again, both legs down, we bring the hips up, and then the glute that you're focused on working is the one that the foot is on the floor of. If you really struggle to do this, you can elevate your shoulders on a sofa, and that's going to help you to work on the position. If you really don't feel your glutes as you do this, you can actually poke your glutes and see, can you get more awareness towards them. Once you can hold each side for a confident 30 seconds, then you can move on to the next level. Our level 2 for the single leg glute bridge is to work on marches. So Jenni sets up in the same way, but this time she brings the knee up on the one side, trying to keep that opposite side hip extended. Then she sets the foot down and she tries to march on the spot. So what we're doing here is getting used to the weight transfer side to side, trying to keep the pelvis in a good position as we work through the march. Try and keep a squeeze of the glute of the foot that's on the ground, and still you can keep using the hands for assistance to keep everything up. Make sure your breathing is nice and relaxed. We're aiming for 10 good solid marches. Once we've got the hang of the isometric hold and the marching, we then want to start going through reps of the single leg glute bridge. So Jenni's setting up in the same way here. She then lifts the leg up. You can go with a knee bent or the leg straight. There's benefits to both. Mix it up sometimes. What we're now looking to do is do reps. So she's lowering the hips down and she uses her glute to extend the hips. So she's even trying to squeeze from the bottom position to bring the hips up. She's not just lifting her hips and squeezing her bum at the top position. We're aiming for 10 solid marches on each side. If you really struggle to feel your glutes, we do have another video on that on our YouTube channel that you can check out, and that will really help you to get more of that glute awareness. If you still struggle with the couch stretch or the 90-90 rotations, you may find extending your hip is still a bit of a struggle, but as these movements improve, your glute activation will feel a lot better also. Lastly, we want to practice our walking patterns. We want to work on accentuated walking so we can get the hip joints and the SI joints all working together. The standing march is a great drill for this because it brings everything together nicely. The level 1 for a standing march is to just try and get some coordination going. So Jenni here is trying to think about having that small tuck of the pelvis, being up nice and tall and not hunched over. And we're just trying to get opposite arm and opposite leg moving. So whenever the left arm's up, the right leg should be up. And whenever the right arm's up, the left leg should be up. So this is where we start with the standing march, just trying to get the hips rotating, trying to get the glutes working a little bit. And again, making sure our breathing is nice and relaxed and we're just getting used to that weight shifting from side to side. Aim for smooth movement the entire time with the knees pointing forwards each time. You don't want the knees flying off in all kinds of other directions. Everything is going forwards. Once you can do a solid 60 seconds and it feels pretty easy, then you can move on to level 2. Level 2 is our precision march. So Jenni has put 2 little lines of masking tape on the ground at hip distance. She then is going to stand on them. She's then going to look forward, so no cheating. And from there we go through that same march again, still trying to feel the lower abs, go nice and slow. And we want to see over time as you're doing that full 60 seconds that you're staying roughly in the same place. If everything's kind of shifting to one side, you'll kind of notice as the reps go on, if Jenni exaggerates for me, she just starts to drift off. So when you finish your set, you'll notice that your feet weren't in the same place as when you started. So it's a great thing to give your brain something to focus on to improve how you're shifting your weight side to side. Repeat the drill with the markers for the 60 seconds until you can do it without drifting to either side, and that way your body will know what straight is. Once you get the hang of that, then we can move on to level 3. Level 3 is the standing march, but now we're adding a 2-second pause at the top of each rep. So when Jenni's knee's up nice and high, she pauses for 2 seconds and then swaps sides. This really helps to work on the ankle, knee and hip stability and builds everything up even further, improving your walking pattern so that your SI joints don't get grumpy whenever you're doing stuff. These 4 exercises work best whenever you put them all together in the same routine. We create the range of motion, we add the strength, and then we combine it all together with good movement patterns. So you can put them together like this. Use whatever level you need to get good quality reps in. If you need to, adjust the rep schemes a little bit to suit your own imbalances or weaknesses that you may have. To make proper lasting changes, you'll want to keep these exercises up for a couple of months for around 4 times per week. We're trying to help your body relearn how to move properly again. The best way to fix weird aches and pains is to have a full body approach. It's never one muscle's fault. When you get good at these exercises and you feel like you want to take your mobility further, the best place to start with us is the simplistic mobility method.